Hey there, NASCAR fans! You won't believe the latest buzz about Kyle Busch's retirement plans. Is the Cup Series champion truly calling it quits? The reason behind his decision is gonna shock you. We have all the specifics, and believe us when we say it's something you didn't see coming. Get ready for an emotional roller coaster on NASCAR Zone as we find out the truth behind Kyle's official retirement plans. But before we dive into that, do subscribe to our channel and hit the like button. The recent Crayon 300 in New Hampshire has really got people talking about it. You know, the retirement bug is hitting some big names, like Kevin Harvick from Stewart-Haas Racing. Fans are already bracing themselves to miss seeing the dark horse on the NASCAR tracks next season. It's been an emotional ride, with Harvick receiving tons of tributes and accolades throughout his final season. But wait, the speculation doesn't end there. There are strong rumors that Martin Truex Jr. from Joe Gibbs Racing might also consider retiring. It's a lot to take in for NASCAR enthusiasts as they try to wrap their minds around all these potential farewells. However, not everyone is ready to hang up their racing gear just yet. Kyle Busch also seems to be one step ahead as he recently dropped the bombshell that he's not planning to retire anytime soon. He's charting out his own course and continuing to stay in the game. You know, it's not surprising that after years in a physically and mentally demanding sport like NASCAR, retirement starts to look appealing. Even Kevin Harvick acknowledged the challenges and sacrifices drivers and their families have to make to keep up with NASCAR's hectic schedule before he announced his retirement before the Daytona 500. It's definitely an exciting yet bittersweet time in the world of NASCAR as we wait to see how these retirement stories unfold. But for now, let's buckle up and enjoy the races ahead. You know, the retirement question doesn't just revolve around Kevin Harvick, but also the number 19 driver, Martin Truex Jr. is facing a bit of a dilemma regarding his future in the upcoming seasons. Even though he's sitting pretty at the top of the points table with 3 victories and is a strong contender for the championship, he's still uncertain about what lies ahead. Truex Jr. has toyed with the idea of bidding his final farewell before, especially after a tough 2022 Cup season. However, he was convinced to keep racing, but now it seems like the retirement dilemma might actually become a reality. After his 3rd victory, he expressed,
It takes a lot. It's not just show up at the track, drive the car, go home. Takes a lot. Takes a lot of commitment. It's a lot of travel. You know, a lot of time missing things with family and friends and all those things that I've done for, 25 years. Do I want to keep doing it? And am I willing to, sacrifice all those things again for my team? So that's just what I'm thinking about. I don't know that running good and winning makes a difference. Be pretty awesome to win the championship and walk off into the sunset. But I just don't really know. I wish I had more time to figure out what I want to do next year, but I don't. So I'll know soon, and you'll know soon.
On the other hand, Kyle Busch seems to have a clearer vision of his retirement plans and what life after the Cup Series would look like for him. In a chat with SiriusXM Cloud, he shared his thoughts.
Good question. I would say in a perfect world, I've kind of dreamt this up a little bit. In a perfect world, I would retire from Cup racing when Brexton is 15 years old, and I would go run a year of truck. I'd go run a full Truck Series season to see if I can win a Truck Series championship, because that I would be the first one to have ever won in all 3 series of NASCAR, a championship, which I've won the most races across all 3 of those divisions than anybody combined. So I would do that. And then when Brexton turns 16, him and I can split that truck where he can run the shorter track races and I can run the bigger track races. So for 2 years, because you have to be 18 to run the big tracks. So for 2 years, we would split it. And then when he's 18, he takes it over. And then when he runs it full time and takes it over and hopefully wins a championship, then he moves on. And then I'm out, like I'm done. That would be it for me. So that would probably put me around, I guess, 49, 50 years old.
That's a heck of a plan. I like that.
Yeah, that's the dream. So I got to make the dream a reality. So we're working on that. I got to have that life after racing plan. I don't have that one set yet. And if my Cup career is going to be over in the next, 6 or 7 years, boy, the time is ticking.
It's pretty evident that Kyle is determined to turn this dream into a reality. But he also knows that he needs to plan for life after racing. He hasn't quite figured out that part yet, but he's aware that time is ticking, especially if his Cup career is coming to a close in the next 6 or 7 years. As for Brexton, he's a budding driver still finding his way in the world of karting. Following in his father's footsteps won't be an easy task, but with Kyle's plans and support, it's bound to be an interesting journey. We'll be eagerly watching to see how this young talent carves his own path and makes a name for himself in the world of NASCAR. Who knows, we might have another Busch making waves on the racetracks in the future. What are your thoughts on Busch's plans? Let us know in the comments section below. And be sure to hit the bell button and subscribe to our channel to get the latest updates. Breaking up with Joe Gibbs may definitely be a good idea for Busch, but his future plans look good. Despite some rough patches, Kyle Busch's love for Joe Gibbs Racing remains as strong as ever, and it's no surprise why. That team is where he made a name for himself, earning 2 Cup Series titles and establishing his prominence in the racing world. But like any team, they've faced their fair share of challenges, especially with failed sponsorship deals and uncertainties that affected Kyle's career. Still, there's no denying that Joe Gibbs Racing is a powerhouse in the world of NASCAR, with a rich history and numerous titles under its belt. They have the potential to win championships, and there are certain tracks where they dominate, while other teams struggle to keep up. Kyle himself recognizes the team's strength, especially after a disappointing finish at the Miracle Mile. Even though he's now with Richard Childress Racing and having an impressive season with 3 victories, his streak hit a snag in New Hampshire. He had to bow out of the 1.058-mile race after a crash at the end of Stage 1. Oh man, it seems like New Hampshire has been a tricky track for Kyle Busch. Not just this year, but in the past too. Back in 2021, there was a sudden weather change that resulted in a multi-car crash on the track. Kyle lost control of his car and ended up spinning out, crashing into the outside wall. The damage was extensive, and he had to call it a day. This year, history repeated itself as he faced a similar incident in the rain-delayed race. It's tough luck for him, especially when his former team, Joe Gibbs Racing, was having an exceptional performance and dominating the track. They've been on a roll at Loudon, winning the Lobster Trophy for the 2nd consecutive time. Even though he's now with Richard Childress Racing, Kyle couldn't help but acknowledge Joe Gibbs Racing's prowess at Loudon in a conversation with FOX reporter Bob Pockras. He admitted, okay, Joe Gibbs Racing is the best team going to Loudon. They've had a stranglehold on that place for how long, having the best average finish. For Kyle, it was a disappointing day at the New Hampshire track. He was hoping to score some extra points before heading into the postseason, but things didn't go as planned. Starting from the rear of the grid for the main event after the qualifying incident certainly didn't help his cause. Talking to the media about his challenging day, Kyle expressed his frustration, saying, "I've been lacking right rear grip the whole time we've been here. I just couldn't get the right rear feel in the racetrack. You're just going along, trying to keep it under you as much as you can. It was getting late in the run, and I was trying a different line, and it was just too high. I didn't like to be that high on entry." He felt that he couldn't give the car enough wheel input to maintain the lateral grip needed to keep the car stable. Unfortunately, the situation didn't work in his favor, and he had to endure a tough race. He mentioned that their Chevy setup wasn't performing as well as they hoped for, but he's optimistic about the remaining races of the regular season. That's all for today. Hope you enjoyed it. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel to see more of our videos on NASCAR updates. Look forward to seeing you in the next video.